Here's to whiskey kisses with peachy taste of sin.
Greetings, whiskey folk. This is Drinking Out Loud on the official Dram Association YouTube channel. I am your host, Adam Bradshaw, and it is a pleasure to welcome you back once again to my kitchen here in beautiful Victoria, British Columbia, for the Scotch Malt Whisky Society of Canada's May OutTurn, Part 1. That's right, we're splitting the OutTurn into two easy-to-digest portions this month, and we have 4 fantastic whiskies to both reveal and release for you here today. Now, huge welcome to everyone from the SMWS throughout the country, especially our local members here in Victoria. I miss you guys. I can't wait to see your smiling faces once again. But in the meantime, hopefully, you're staying safe and at least getting some enjoyment out of these digital tastings. I know that you'd probably prefer to be, in a room drinking whiskey with me. Who wouldn't? But in the meantime, this will do nicely, I think. A huge shout out to anyone who's joining us from across the country as well. If you're over in Vancouver and a regular of Legacy, if you're over in Calgary and possibly a regular of Kensington Wine Market, or in Edmonton with Keg and Cork. Huge welcome to you guys. Make yourself at home. Let us know you're here in the live chat. We'd love to hear from you. Speaking of the live chat, it would mean the world to me if you all joined in. If you're watching this as it debuts at 7:30 on Friday the 1st, then check it out. You can find it right here, or I believe right here, depending on what device you're on. So, yes, we have the live chat, same as we did last month. Speaking of last month, thanks for everyone for checking out last month's video. We had a lot of fun doing it, and we really appreciate the feedback. And we have made some changes to this video based on that feedback as well. So, yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy this one even more. The live chat was fantastic last month. Hopefully it's going to be great again. One thing that people did get a little confused by, this video is not live. I recorded this a couple of days ago, and that is why I'm both speaking to you right now and typing to you. I'm not magic. Well, I am, but not in that way. We have an extra thing happening today as well, however. Not only do we have the live chat, but after the video, we're inviting you all to the virtual vaults. We are having a Zoom meeting, a giant tasting with anyone who would like to participate. So we'll have a link to that in the live chat so that you can come and join us on Zoom. And the idea is we're actually going to look at last month's OutTurn. So those of you who picked up a bottle at last month's OutTurn, now is the time to crack it open, pour yourself a big dram, and join us in the Zoom meeting afterwards to talk about last month's whiskies live and in person. It's going to be a lot of fun. One thing that I always do in these Drinking Out Loud videos is stretch. It's a very important thing to do. A warm-up dram is necessary. You don't want to pull a muscle. It's not a good thing to do. So I'm going to warm up with one of my absolute favorite whiskeys of the year so far. This is a whiskey that flew under a lot of people's radar. It actually came out in the January OutTurn. It's 58.29 Solo Plays and Pranks. This was part of the Rabbie Burns Night bottling series, which was really cool as well. I absolutely loved this whiskey. To me, it tasted like a Jammy Dodger. I don't know if you're familiar with Jammy Dodgers. It's one of those British things that you'll probably find in the official SMWS tasting notes somewhere. It's this weird little cookie, or biscuit, I guess we would call it. It's not dissimilar to those sort of blonde Oreos, like the not chocolate Oreos, but as well as like the fondant filling, there's actually a layer of jam as well, and the top layer has holes for the eyes and a mouth. It's like a smiley face, and the jam and the whites sort of peek through. They look kind of creepy, but they're absolutely delicious, and this reminds me a lot of that. I just thought this was a fantastic dram, so I'm going to be warming up tonight with Soul of Plays and Pranks. Let us know what you're warming up with in the live chat. I'd love to hear what you're drinking as we go with this video. So, we are going to be releasing 4 new whiskies here today, and the way it's going to work is this time we're going to be deviating a little from last month's formula. We're doing it less like as if you were here in person and more like a normal sort of YouTube video, I guess. And we are going to be revealing the price of all 4 whiskies actually at the very end of the video. So at the very end of the video is when they officially go live. At that point, I'll play a couple of tracks of music and keep the information about the 4 new drams on the video, and then we'll try and move everyone across to the live Zoom meeting. That is the plan. Let's see if it works out. So Yep, every bit as good as I remember. I'm going to take a couple of sips of this whilst we play a very special message from two very special people. Take it away, guys.
Hi everyone, Kelly and Rob from SMWS Canada here. We wanted to just pop in a quick hello to the video tonight before you guys get started on the May OutTurn. We're excited to get the May OutTurn released. It's been a while since the last one because we released the April one a little bit early, so we're all pretty excited to dip into the next batch of whiskeys. We'll be trying them alongside of you tonight, so thanks as always to Adam from the Dram Association and the Strath for putting together another video for us to enjoy tonight. So let's carry on with the OutTurn and have some fun.
So cheers, Adam, and everyone who is part of putting this video together. For those of you who are joining in, we hope you're safe and healthy, and please keep it that way.
Cheers.
Well, this is frankly just a beautiful way to warm up. Solar Plays and Pranks. 10-year-old Speyside. Absolutely delicious. It's still available at strathliquor.com. We've still got a few bottles left. Look out for it as well at any of the other three merchants that stock the SMWS in Canada. Beautiful wee whiskey. And let's reveal the first whiskey. So, whiskey number 1 is called Sweet and Juicy Dry Finish. The nose had a subtle dryness, like shoeshine stand, someone said. But it was mainly sweet and fruity. Butter shortbread, creamy vanilla, Rice Krispie cake, marshmallows, marzipan, and chocolate orange creams. A similar pattern on the taste. Juicy orange marmalade, sherbet, and brown sugar, with the dryness coming out in the finish. Black tea, leather, spiced nuts, and oak. With water, the nose became more delicate. Caramel, toffee, coconut, orchard fruits, and lemon puff biscuits. Hints of canvas and varnished wood, the palate became more perfumed. Damson crumble, pineapple sprinkled with salt and chili, and an interesting ginger and orange combination. And that whiskey is 58.33. Funnily enough, the same distillery as my warm-up dram, and that's not by accident. So, Sweet and Juicy Dry Finish. It was distilled on the 13th of September 2007 from a refill hogshead ex-bourbon. It's a Speyside region, 59.7% alcohol, 11 years old, and one of 267. Now, before I open this, I just want to say a lot of that information is very familiar because Solo Plays and Pranks, as I mentioned, one of my absolute favourites of the year so far, also happens to be distilled on the 13th of September 2007. That's right, these are sister casks. Also from a refill hogshead ex-bourbon, same type of cask even. And funnily enough, also one of 267. So very similar evaporation rate too. In fact, the ABV is less than a percent out as well. It's less than 0.5% out. The 58.29 was 59.3, and the 58.33 is 59.7. And yeah, so I'm hoping that this is very much on the same lines. And I'm very excited that in the official tasting notes, it actually mentioned a couple of classic English biscuits as well, especially with the, the lemony one it mentioned, the lemon puff biscuits. So I'm really excited to have, hopefully, a similar experience to the Solar Plays and Pranks. Interesting to note, of course, it's from a different flavor profile. But let's see what it's like. I'm going to crack one open right now. Okay. There's very few things in life as satisfying as opening a new bottle of Scotch Malt Whisky Society. The sound, it's very, very satisfying. All right, let's see what we've got here. Beautiful. So before I go into my own nosing and tasting notes, I'm going to reveal just a little bit of information about where this whiskey is from. So this is a Strathisla. Though there's only been a distillery called Strathisla since 1951, the distillery has actually existed under a prior name since 1786, making it one of the oldest in the country. In fact, it holds the record as the oldest license in Scotland. The name it was given back in 1786 was Milltown, which later got slightly adapted to Milton, which of course is not to be confused with Milton Duff, which is an entirely different distillery. Even though the name didn't change officially until 1951, the whiskey was often known as Strathisla due to the distillery's location on the banks of the River Isla, a tributary of the River Tay. So despite the river being Isla, it is not on Isla. It's slightly confusing, but Scottish geography often is, to be honest. In the 1970s, they released a short-lived peated malt called Craig Duff, and nowadays you'll find them mostly as part of the Chivas blends. All right, let's crack in. Yeah, definitely. I think it mentioned Rice Krispie squares. Yeah, Rice Krispie cakes it mentioned in the official notes. Definitely get that. It's got this lovely, sweet, marshmallowy, cereal-y thing going on the nose. That is absolutely delightful. Yeah, we're on to a winner so far. Yeah, that's lovely. Now I have to do a side-by-side. I'm not sure where, there it is. I'm not sure where I put my my opening dram, but I can't not do a side-by-side of the sister casks. This one, it feels a little darker. There's almost kind of a black coffee thing very lightly under there. It's almost like a coffee cake, actually. You know how it's got that coffee flavor and it's sweet, but it doesn't have the creaminess so much. I'm not getting much cream. Sweet, light coffee. Yeah. And that's the fruitiness coming across there as well. I mentioned pineapple. I'm not sure I'm getting any tropical fruit like pineapple, but the damson, definitely getting the damson. And for those who aren't familiar with damsons, they're kind of like a small tree fruit, like not dissimilar to a plum, I guess. They taste a bit nasty on their own, but stew them up, put them with a bunch of sugar and make a pudding out of them. Delicious. Damson crumble, as it mentions in the notes, is divine. Not unlike rhubarb in that sense, really. I've never been a fan of raw rhubarb, but stew it up, ooh. One of my favourite things on the planet. You know, power of suggestion. I am slightly thinking rhubarb now as I'm smelling this. But that might be just me tricking myself, to be honest. it's not quite as evocative, I think, as the Solar Pranks and Plays. Is it Plays and Pranks or Pranks and Plays? Plays and Pranks, sorry. Yeah, it's not quite as evocative to personal memories. So I don't quite have that personal attachment to it as I do with this one. But I have to say, I think you're probably gonna like this one more generally, unless you have a specific attachment to the flavor profile of the last one, which I do. This one is a little bit more deep. It's a little bit more round. I mean, realistically, you're comparing apples to just a slightly different apple. They're both very good. They're both very similar. Yeah, if you liked the Solar Plays and Pranks, or Pranks and Plays, I've already forgotten which way around it was, then you're very, very likely to like this one as well. And if you thought the Solar Planks and Plays, Planks and Praise, Praise and Planks, flossed it. If you liked that one, if you didn't like that one as much, if you thought it was good but not quite there, then this one might be the step up that you were looking for. It feels, I mean, it's theoretically a year older. It's probably only a couple of months older. Just, it happens to have crossed over the date line to 11 years. But it does feel a little bit more fuller, a little bit more rich, a little bit darker. And yeah, I think this is a fantastic whiskey. I can't wait to see what's next. So whiskey number 2 today is called Sweetness and Spice Laced with Mystery, and the official notes are as follows. The dark brooding nose has chocolate and marmalade cake, dark cherries, cinder toffee, orange muscat wine, and bramble liqueur, maybe some leather. The palate finds earthy, fruity flavours, fruitcake, damson jam, orange peel, Old English spangles, cinnamon toast and cough syrup. The reduced nose gradually surrenders its secrets, spiced plums, orange aero, sandalwood, mango stone, espresso, peshwari naan, cherry tunes, etc. The reduced palate is like a metaphor for living. Sweetness and spice laced with mystery. Petit four, moist ginger cake, Grand Marnier, and tiramisu. Well, that just sounds fantastic. A lot of very evocative flavors being mentioned there. I'm, big fan of damson jam. We mentioned damsons in the last one. Peshwari naan is one of my all-time favorite Indian foods, and it's something I've yet to find in North America. Obviously, India is really the home of Indian food, but if there's a second home, it's the UK. We absolutely love Indian cuisine in the UK, and it's especially in Scotland as well. The pub that I worked at in Edinburgh had an Indian restaurant next door called Mother India, and they had the best Peshwari naans on this planet, I swear. So Peshwari naan is, imagine a naan bread where it's been stuffed with sweet fruits and spices. It's like this weird bastard child of naan bread and Christmas cake. It is absolutely delicious. And if there's even a hint of that flavor profile in this whiskey, I know I'm already hooked. So, what is this whiskey? Sweetness and Spice Laced with Mystery is 16.39. It is one of 672. That's a big cask. It is from the 30th of March 2001, making it 18 years old. It is from a second fill puncheon. Heavy toast, medium char is, I believe, what HTMC stands for. And it's from the Highlands. It's 55.2%. And it's actually a finish of a second fill puncheon HTMC because it was previously in a port pipe. And I believe it was in the port pipe for 17 years. So just a 1-year finish in the second fill puncheon. So a puncheon, by the way, is an official standard size of cask in the UK. And I think cask sizes are international, I'm not entirely sure. But a puncheon, it's about 2/3 of a butt. It's, I think, 320 litres, somewhere thereabouts. And really, it could have had anything in it beforehand. They don't mention in this. I don't know if Rob and Kelly might have more information. If they do, please share it in the live chat, guys. It could have had anything in that puncheon. Puncheons hold They hold beer, they hold wine, they hold spirits. Literally could have been anything. Could have been virgin. We don't... Oh no, second fill. Definitely wasn't virgin. But we do know that port pipe held port, because that's what a port pipe's for. So I'm expecting quite a colour on this one. And you can already actually see, I don't know if the camera can pick up, it's darker in the bottle. The SMWS green bottles don't usually give too much away, but if it's a particularly dark dram, you can kind of tell through the bottle. So yeah, I'm expecting very interesting things to come out of this bottle. This is going to be exciting. Lovely. Ooh. Yeah, that is a satisfying colour. That is like iron brew syrup. Oh, and that is a satisfying nose. My eyes almost rolled into the back of my head just then. That is... Yeah, orange peel, damson jam. Definitely right on it with those notes. I kind of... Yeah, I get that muscat wine as well. Yeah, there is a lot happening on here. This is definitely one that I will be exploring with water. You might have noticed I didn't with the last one. For full exploratory purposes, I should have added water. That's probably bad of me, but I liked it enough without the water that I felt like I didn't want to risk it. This one, it's probably going to be fantastic, but from the tasting notes, the official tasting notes, it sounds like I might like it even more with water. So I'll definitely be trying this one with a couple of drops as well. Not entirely sure I'm getting any of the leather they said might be in there, but it's not quite that dark, but it's definitely got this burnt fruitiness. Yeah, that is a gorgeous nose. Yeah, that is so complex. So orangey. Actually, I think did it mention orange arrows? It did. I don't know if you've had an orange arrow. I know I've seen the mint ones and some of the other flavors here. Imagine an arrow, but orange flavored, like a Terry's chocolate orange, but with arrow chocolate instead of Terry's chocolate. Yeah, really big chocolate orange, almost like a Jaffa. If anyone spent much time in Australia or New Zealand, Jaffas are kind of like, imagine like an orange flavored spherical M&M. That's basically a Jaffa. Oh, delightful. So before I go too far more into my opinions and notes on this one, a little bit of information about the distillery. So this is Distillery 16, which happens to be Glenturret. Whereas Strathisla may lay claim to being the oldest license, Glenturret is adamant that they are the oldest still operating distillery. Although they weren't licensed till 1818, their distilling can be traced back to 1775. So they were distilling before they had a license. Naughty, naughty. Just like Strathisla, they also started off under a different moniker, the rather unfortunate sounding Hosh, a word which now the Urban Dictionary defines as a synonym of cock up, or to execute poorly. That's very unfortunate for a distillery name, and they kept that name for exactly 100 years before changing it to Glenturret in 1875. Also, just like Strathisla, they dabbled with peated malts. However, whereas Strathisla seemingly made a right good hosh of their peated malts, Glenturret's Rued Moor has been very successful and has created, especially for the smoky grouse blend. We actually had one last year in the SMWS. You might remember it under the particularly memorable name Acme Ghost Repellent. Okay. Yeah, that is all kinds of awesome. I'm not sure, had I not known that this was a port pipe, I'm not sure I would have guessed. It's not necessarily port characteristic, but it's definitely like a fortified wine characteristic. If I was guessing completely blind, I might go as far as to say this is Oloroso sherry over port. But it has those darker flavors. Maybe I'd say sherry and PX mix or something along those lines. But yeah, that is very, very pleasing. It's not overly viscous, which is something I like, a good viscosity in a whiskey. And this one, if I was to say anything negative about it, it would be that it maybe feels just a touch thinner than I would expect it to with the volume of flavor. But that being said, it's still thick. It's still got a nice viscosity to it. It's just not as viscous as I might have assumed it would be. But it doesn't really affect it at all. That's just really nitpicking on my part. It's still absolutely glorious. I'm a big fan of this. You might find that the website has one less than it should do by the time you guys reach to it, because I've been working like a dog during this pandemic, and I might treat myself to a whiskey. I'm not sure I should be doing that. I'm not sure I'm allowed to get one before. I might check with Rob and Kelly first. But yes, there's every chance that I might be picking one of these up myself, so get on that quickly. Like I said, let's treat this to a bit of the water treatment, because I want to see if I can find that Peshwari naan they mentioned on the reduced nose there. That should be enough. Warm it up a little, let it do its magic. Yeah, it seems to have separated those fats a little. That's interesting. It's a little more vibrant now on the palate, at least. I don't know. I went straight to the palate. I should be nosing it more, but I went straight to that palate. And honestly, Grand Marnier is right on the spot there. That is this big, beautiful, sweet, orangey, but still vibrant liqueur flavor. Yeah. Not as much spice as I would expect from the tasting notes personally. You guys might find the spice more than I do. I'm definitely getting more of a fruit forward flavor. Oh, but there's the nuts. Yep, getting the nuts on the nose now. And the most common nut that you'd find in a Peshwari naan, as far as I'm aware, is like thinly sliced almonds, and that's pretty much right what I'm getting there on the nose. And there is a bit of spice now, a sweet spice. It's definitely sweet baking spice rather than like raw curry spice. Yeah. You can tell by how much I've already drunk of this one. I'm a big fan. Let's see what's next, shall we? So tonight's third whiskey is called simply Old Fashioned. The nose possesses a welcoming warmth that combines chocolate, coconut, blood oranges, and herby barley sugar travel sweets. In time, cherry lozenges, candied orange, and dusty sweet marshmallows are added to the mix. The palate is outrageously coconutty, with orange muscat syrup poured on luxurious vanilla ice cream. Beautifully mouth-coating, a touch of water lightens the experience and accentuates a hoppy grapefruit note, which is complemented by fruit salad with cream and overripe peaches. The palate is now fruity, thick and syrupy, with chocolate shavings, almonds, marzipan, stem ginger, buttered pancakes, and scones. Well, that sounds beautiful. It sounds like the actual perfect next step from whiskey number 2, actually. And I should mention that normally these OutTurn tastings, the order is chosen by Rob and Kelly. And just before I started recording this video, I realized that I hadn't asked them what order to put it in, so I just kind of guessed. I'm hoping this is the right way around, but it feels like this would be the next evolution to the last dram, that Glenturret. And as you might know notice from the bottle, this one is pretty different. This is a blended malt from the SMWS. We've had a couple already. We recently had the second edition of the Peat Fairy, which was very, very popular here at the Strath. And this is our third variation on their blends. And this one has a particularly interesting story, which I'll get into shortly. But first of all, let's open it up and get some first impressions. I have to say, more so than the previous blended malts. I love the design on this one. I'm a sucker for a good typographic artwork, and I really like this. So what does it say on the bottle? It says, old-fashioned, funnily enough. It says it's 11 years old. It has an official age statement. It is 50% ABV, which is seemingly what the SMWS is doing for all of their blends, which I think is good. Consistency is nice, and if that's what they're going with their new blended malts, I think that's a good thing. Here's the real interesting part. Matured in a medley of first fill IPA, bourbon, and sherry casks. Huh. That's something I have never seen before in the SMWS. Beer casks is something, it's becoming more and more popular. We've had it in the Dram Association a couple of times. Of course, Jameson being the first one with their stout cask and their IPA cask. And yeah, we had the Glenfiddich IPA cask as well. And both of them gave some really interesting notes that weren't really expecting. A lot of people went into the IPA cask whiskies thinking what would come across was that sort of bitter hoppiness. No, the really nice fruity floral notes of the hops is what actually translated to those whiskies. So I'm hoping that's the case in this one too. This is really cool. All right, so there's a bit of information on the back, but I have some official information straight from Rob and Kelly, who forwarded me an email with a lot more information on this one. So I'm going to read that out to you right now. The Scotch Malt Whisky Society loves a bit of experimentation, and now we've unveiled the Old Fashioned, a blended malt bottling matured in an IPA cask from a local Scottish brewery. The Society's first beer-matured blended malt comes about after we sent Tempest Brewing Company in the Scottish borders some first-fill Kentucky bourbon casks, which they used to mature their powerfully hoppy double IPA, known as Old Fashioned. They returned the cask for us to mature an 11-year-old Speyside whiskey in for another 14 months, before we blended that with selected malts from first-fill sherry hogsheads. The result is our very own Old Fashioned, named in honour of the double IPA that preceded it. We wanted to celebrate our love for whiskey and beer together by creating our first beer-matured blended malt Old Fashioned, said the Society's spirit manager, Ewan Campbell. Tempest are based not far from us in the Scottish borders and shared our thirst for a bit of beer and whiskey-related experimentation. We sent head brewer Doug Rowe and his team some first-fill bourbon casks to mature their old-fashioned double IPA, and then used the same casks to mature our own blended malts. It's certainly a departure for the Society, but I trust that when you try it for yourself, you'll appreciate not only its vanilla notes, but the hops and citric fruits from the beer that was in the cask previously. Well, I for one applaud experimentation, especially in whiskey, and I cannot wait to try this one. So the first thing I get on the nose, and again, power of suggestion, barley sugar travel sweets. Again, not something that I'm sure many people here are familiar with, but they're very, very popular in the UK. Actually, I've seen them here. I know a couple of the chemists have them at the checkout counter. I don't know if it's just purely to cater to expats, but they come in sort of little squat metal tins that almost look like snuff tobacco tins or something, designed to keep in the glove box of the car. And yeah, they've got little sweets, little barley sugars, which are sort of sweet, slightly barley-flavoured candies. Blood oranges is a good note, yeah. Not getting the coconut yet. Hopefully I do on the palate, because they mention it's outrageously coconutty, which I think is a fantastic descriptor. Looking forward to that. A lot of the flavour notes are tying together nicely in this selection of whiskies so far. So thank you, Rob and Kelly, for putting these four together. I think from so far, at least, they work quite well together. I'm liking the parallels between this one and the first one with the marshmallows on the nose. This really does have that same marshmallowy aroma that I found in the first one. Less the Rice Krispies, though. Not any Rice Krispies floating around in this one. Yep. That is really good. That is really good. That is... I don't like burning bridges and saying that I like things far better than other things very often, but I'm willing to burn this bridge. This is a hell of a lot better than either the Glenfiddich or the Jameson IPA whiskies that I've tried. The IPA notes... Oh, there's a back palate thing of that malty beery thing too. Oh, that's cool. The IPA notes shine really nicely in this. As it mentioned, the grapefruit flavor that comes from the hops. No bitterness. None of that hoppy, make your mouth pucker up bitterness that you get in an actual IPA. But all of those notes, which I've heard a lot of people that like double IPAs like them because when you get past the bitterness, you can find these beautiful, rich fruit notes to it. That is what I'm getting in here. That is glorious, and I am very, very impressed. I wasn't sure that this was an experiment that would actually work, but they have proven me to be quite wrong. That is glorious. Yeah, right there. It's about a second and a half after it reaches the tongue. Just this beautiful, herbaceous grapefruit peel, which just, it's the hops. It has to be the hops because it tastes almost exactly like that note that I actually like in a double IPA but can't get over the bitterness. This is the best bit of a double IPA literally distilled into a... well, they didn't distill the IPA, but you know what I mean. They distilled that one part of the flavor into this spirit, and that's really good. I've often joked to... there it is again. I've often joked to beer geeks and beer fans that whiskey is just perfected beer. Yeah. This is a perfected IPA. Man. I was, some of you may know this already, I was planning to be in Scotland next month. Unfortunately, that's probably not going to happen. It seems really unlikely at this point. But next time I am in Scotland, I'm definitely going to hunt down this beer and give it a try, because who knows, maybe a Scottish double IPA is significantly different to the local double IPAs. I mean, heaven knows that over here, the West Coast IPA is... probably about 3 times as hoppy as an IPA in Scotland. Like, one of my favourite beers back in Edinburgh was Duca's IPA. I absolutely loved that beer. We had it on a proper hand-pulled draft in the Royal Oak. Always loved that beer. Yeah, I mean, actually, God, that was a really good beer. I forgot how good that beer was. I wonder if they'd bottle it. If they do, I'm going to try and import some. Duca's IPA, Jesus. Actually, not too dissimilar, that hoppy note. Yeah, I could almost see that being... I mean, it's been a decade since I've had Duca's IPA, so my memory of it is very hazy at best. But yeah, I mean, if they ramped up the hops in a Duca's IPA, I could pretty much see that being the note that comes out. There's also like a Malteser-y thing going on afterwards, which is kind of cool. Yeah, that is glorious. That is really, really good. I shouldn't be as surprised as I am. Of course, the SMWS have knocked it out of the park with all of their vatted malts or blended malts so far. And yeah, this is absolutely no exception, despite being probably the most experimental and bizarre sounding of the ones we've had so far. Yeah, kudos, guys. This is really good. Let's, what's next? So the final whiskey today is called Emanating Petrichor. Now, before I get into the official tasting notes, I just want to mention, love the word petrichor. It's a word that I had forgotten existed and is a fantastic word. For those of you who aren't aware of its meaning, it's essentially the smell that is otherwise very hard to describe, that appears after it has rained. So especially I find on a hot day, that's the smell that I equate with the word petrichor. But it's a funny phenomenon that people seem to have this... They have this idea in their head of this beautiful smell that appears after the rain, which is really hard to describe. So yeah, great word. Actually, the last time I remember really experiencing petrichor was when I was at Shelter Point Distillery. I was visiting Leon, and we weren't quite sure where to go, so we parked up at the Vista Center section. And we walked over towards Leon, but there was no cell reception, so we kind of got slightly bit lost. But it had just been raining on the farm, and as we reached a little bit of a crossroad where they've got a bunch of a bunch of barrels in a pile. There we go, barrels in a pile, not piles in a barrel. That's not English. And they have them with the Shelter Point sort of branding across them, which is really cool. And I remember looking at that, taking a photo, and feeling, yeah, that's that freshly rained smell. It's a good smell. So yeah, it's great word, great name, very evocative. I'm already looking forward to this dram. And here's the official tasting notes. We were greeted with comforting sense of subtle peat, damp grains, and petrichor. A walk around the farm on a drizzly and misty day. There was also a hint of seafood, fruit de mer. The taste was sweet and floral, heather and hard candy. The smoky element was now herbal, and one panelist was reminded of old-fashioned cough medicine, which is the second time we've had cough medicine mentioned today. I like how this is all tying together. A few drops of water transported us to Orkney. We were in a farmyard kitchen, roasting carrots in honey, then breathing in sea air during a walk around the coast. A more rounded mouthfeel with water, with sweet cereal coming to the fore. Now, if you haven't already guessed, this is a number 4. This is 4.248. One of 301 bottles. It was distilled on the 18th of January 2005 from a refill hogshead ex-bourbon. It is obviously a Highland, being up in the Isle of Orkney. It is 58.2% ABV and 13 years old. Now this seems like the perfect way to finish a semi-OutTurn. So I'm always really happy when I see this color. I know it's not as exciting as a big, rich red one, but when I see a peated whiskey that's this pale straw Chardonnay color, I get excited because I know that the spirit is going to be at the forefront of the flavor rather than the wood. And it's dark enough that it's going to be well balanced between the spirit and the wood, but not too dark that we're going to lose those intricate notes that you get in the peat. I can't say that it reminds me of walking around Shelter Point's farm, but it's definitely something I wish I had in a hip flask while we were wandering around Shelter Point's farm. So, Highland Park. Today's third single malt comes from yet another distillery with a history dating back to the 1700s. Orkney's Highland Park is formerly the furthest north distillery in Scotland, knocked down to second place by Saxe-Voord on the Isle of Unst, which is significantly further north. Although their history is long and mysterious, including illicit stills run by a renegade clergyman turned smuggler, Highland Park wasn't widely known until the late 1970s when their first single malt was released, which happened to be an 8-year-old. Recently, they have fully embraced the island's Viking heritage and used that to stand out against the crowd of tartan-clad Glen-somethings on the market. You won't see bagpipes and stags on their bottles, but you might find dragons and battle axes instead. Yeah, definitely very, very coastal. I don't know if the SMWS would ever consider doing this, but I almost feel like the flavor profiles have got. So this is, I believe, lightly peated. Yeah, this is a lightly peated one. I feel like the flavor profiles need to have like a secondary one. Like, yes, it's lightly peated first and foremost, but it's also oily and coastal. I think that would be really cool. Maybe not on the bottles because that would overcomplicate the design, but it would be, I don't know. I know that this is not just lightly peated. There's more to this whiskey than that. It's oily and coastal. It's also kind of fruity on the nose, which wasn't mentioned, I don't think, enough in the official tasting notes, but I'm personally finding kind of a grilled pineapple thing going on the nose. Very pleasing, very Highland Park. Now, this is always very much a personal, sort of, a very personal opinion, but I personally would categorize this as peated rather than lightly peated. I think this is, as Highland Parks go, especially on the peatier side of Highland Parks. Definitely for you peat heads out there, and you know who you are, this is definitely one that would fit in well with a peat lovers collection. This is good. This is really good. This is like a perfected version of, if you guys have tried the official bottling that they did, what's the one with the Marshall amp, the full volume. This is that same flavor profile of the full volume, which I really like. The rich bourbon cask Highland Park, which you never really see as an official bottling. That's really the only one. This is that. They say that one was turned up to 11. If that was turned up to 11, well, this is turned up to freaking 34. Like, this is, like, bigger, richer, voluminous, just an all-round fantastic bourbon cask Highland Park expression. And I think they've done really well releasing this at the age that they released it at. I don't know when the SMWS got their hands on this cask, but I think they released it at the right time. This feels like it's at its best. This is its best self. Yeah, lots of like honey glazed roasted parsnips. That earthy vegetal, but not overly dark and damp sort of nose. Yeah, there's tropical fruits coming through, kind of reminding me a little of the Ardbeg drum. It's got that smoky, or the rum cask Kilchoman as well. Kind of a little bit of that tropical, almost rum cask feel to this one, but not as over the top as those two whiskies. It's good. It's very nice. Yeah, I'm very happy with that. So let's bring all the bottles back out again so you can see them all in a row. That's the opening, Graham. Go on that one. So, number 1 today was the sweet, juicy, dry finish. Your number 2 of the day was the sweetness and spice laced with mystery. Your third bottle of the day was the oh-so-surprising and relatively epic old-fashioned, and then emanating petrichor. I'm going to have to peek over here. So, 4 fantastic whiskies. I'm very excited to be releasing these. Yeah, it's hard to pick a personal favorite right now. I'm going to get to know these whiskies a little bit more in the next coming days. And by the time we have our part 2 of the May OutTurn, I will have got to know them much more so that we can talk about them in detail in the virtual vaults afterwards. And now, don't forget to tune into tonight's virtual vaults, which is coming up very shortly. Of course, the link has probably been posted several times by now in the live chat. And we should probably get these whiskies released. So, strathliquor.com is where you want to be. Links will be put in the live chat right now to the page that contains all of the SMWS whiskies on strathliquor.com. If you are not in BC or not in Victoria, and if you are a member of the SMWS in, like I said, Kensington Wine Markets area, Keg and Corks area, or Legacies area, please do obviously support whichever store is your local store. As much as we need the business right now, everyone needs the business right now, and we need to all support each other in these times. We're all friends here. So please support your local SMWS merchants. And in BC, these are the prices before tax. So your first whiskey today, this beautiful, sweet and juicy dry finish, the 11-year-old Strathyler, can be yours for only $163.39. Your second whiskey, the absolutely incredible port pipe matured, second fill puncheon finished 18-year-old Glenturret. I still can't believe we have this whiskey. This is super cool. This one can be yours for $234.70, a great deal as well. The old-fashioned is, I just think, so creative and so beautifully well put together. This whiskey, if you're a fan of very expressive, interesting whiskies, this is one for you. And this one is also very good value at $149.48, which is, I just think, excellent. And finally, for you peat lovers, this Highland Park Emanating Petrichor 13-year-old Highland Park can be yours for $197.30. All of those prices are before tax, and they are available at strathliquor.com right now. We are still doing the $3 same-day delivery, or next day delivery by now, because same day delivery on all orders before midday. So place your order before noon tomorrow, and we will have a happy, smiling driver knocking on your door with bottles of SMWS for you tomorrow morning. Actually, sorry, the driver will be there tomorrow afternoon, as long as you order tomorrow morning or tonight. That driver may probably be Brett, thinking about it. You'll probably get to see Brett. It's unfortunate he couldn't make it onto the video this month, but at least you'll be able to see him on your driveway. So yeah, say hi to Brett for me. I don't see him enough these days. And yeah, thank you for joining us for part 1 of SMWS Canada's May OutTurn. Huge thanks to Rob and Kelly, of course. I'm sure they've been following along in the live chat, and they will be joining us as well at the virtual vault. So drams at the ready. I will see you live very, very shortly. Enjoy the music. I will see you soon. Sláinte mhath.